What if Penn State loses to West Virginia in week 1?
This would be, I cannot emphasize how important this game is, potentially, for the Big 12. And for Penn State, this is just a really difficult non-conference game. It's a really difficult non-conference opener. One, you travel into a place that's extremely hard to play. Okay, it's going to be absolutely insane when you walk into Morgantown and you got to play in that level of hostility week 1. So it's going to be a really tough venue, really tough place to play. I've done multiple games in Morgantown, one of the most underrated places in America. I love it. That being said, I think back to what Penn State has excelled at the last few years. Okay, they've been unbelievable defensively. I mean, one of the best in the country, top 3 in several metrics, have given up less than 14 points per game. The only 2 teams that have fared better than that are Michigan and Ohio State. Last year, if you look at the amount of yards given up defensively, Penn State was at the top. So this is a defense that has been amazing. The one black eye, though, last year was the Michigan game. And while they clearly played really hard against Michigan, Michigan ran the ball 30 consecutive plays to kind of close out the game. 30 consecutive plays and just pounded it over and over and over again. It wasn't big plays. They weren't manufacturing chunk yardage. It was just one after another, like Novocaine. You give it time and it always works. That, of course, dropped Penn State and James Franklin's record against Ohio State and Michigan to just 1-14 in the last 10, when they've been ranked in the top 10. You look overall, James Franklin has been great in games like this. He's 80-18 against everyone not named Michigan and Ohio State. And against Michigan and Ohio State overall, they're just 4-16. Of course, did have 3 wins against Michigan when Michigan wasn't so good. Did beat Ohio State back in 16 on the blocked field goal. But if you think back to the recipe that Michigan used in success against Penn State last year, it was by pounding the football. Guess what West Virginia can do? They can pound the football. They're the only team in the country with 3 750-yard rushers last year. And what's interesting is that all 3 are back, which is unique, and all 3 can exploit you in different ways. Garrett Green, excellent. As a quarterback, would like to see him continue to become more consistent throwing it. But we know C.J. Donaldson is a hammer, 240 pounds, difficult to bring down. Not a guy that you want to face in the hole when short yardage games and plays are there in the balance. Jaheim White, we know what he's like when you get him out in space. The guy's ridiculous. Absolutely electric. The Mountaineers last year averaged almost 230 rushing yards a game. That was the 4th most in the country. It was the most among the Power 5. Only Rutgers ran the ball with more regularity, 59%, than West Virginia, who called a run play 57% of the time last year. So if there's ever been a recipe or a recreating what they're going to try to do, I think West Virginia is going to watch that Michigan tape and they're going to say, we're going to try to do exactly what they did. I don't know how successful they'll be because I don't think West Virginia's offensive line is as good as Michigan's was last year. But still, I think they're going to try to pound it. I think they're going to try to shrink the game. I think that's going to be a really physical game week 1 in Morgantown.